I do believe that until you fixed these 3 things, you should not be investing. Number 1, when you are making an investment that's going to freak you out to the point of paralysis and disconnection. So it doesn't really matter what the number is. My very first investment, I think, was $3,500. And then I invested $5,000 in a coach. And then I invested, in a web design that was like $2,500, then another one that was $5,000, right? Like, it doesn't really matter when it was $18,000 for the life coach school or $25,000 for the mastermind. At whatever stage, what paying that amount of money is doing to you. So like, if your thoughts are all over the place, like, okay, cool, I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm just going to do it. And then you're going to freak out and you're going to paralyze and you're going to like back up. You're going to distract yourself and you kind of know that that's where you're at. You're not ready. I don't want you to ever put yourself in this situation. Like it's a big decision to spend thousands of dollars on your business, but it's never about whether that decision is like whether you have that money in your bank account or you have it in excess or you have to take out a loan or any of that. All of those situations could still be smart choices, but you still need to be able to take massive action once you've done the investment. So if you know that it's going to put you into paralysis or you're going to like freak out afterwards, then don't do it. Do it so that once you do it, even if it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel like you want to throw up, that's perfectly normal. I feel like I want to throw up a little bit around every time I spend money that I've never spent before, right? And every time I do it, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's get to work, right? So if that's the attitude afterward, you're here for it. But if it's going to freak you out to the point of paralysis, don't do it. Number 2, when you've recently invested in another program or another investment and haven't made the time to watch, learn, or apply it. So I see a lot of you guys out there as kind of like serial investors, and you're like, okay, I bought this program and I bought that training and I invested with this coach, but then you're not even like watching the modules or you're not doing the thing. And you're just like, oh, like you get shiny object syndrome and you're like, you get that Instagram ad and you're like, oh my God, this person would solve all my problems. Just do yourself the service of applying whatever you've done already, because how you've been showing up. And it doesn't mean that if you've done that in the past, like 5 years ago, you did that and you didn't watch that one video and now it's no longer relevant to you. Doesn't mean that you can't invest now. Like I definitely have done that before in my past. But if you've done it really recently and you still have access to a training that you just bought, like follow through on it. The other thing is, and the other caveat I will say is, if you've invested in something like, let's say you've invested in like web design and you're in the process of applying that, and you also want to invest in coaching, that's totally fine. You do have the capacity as long as you decide that you have the capacity to work on both things. I just wouldn't recommend investing in 2 business coaches at the same time, or 2 different types of trainings on time management, or 2 different types of Facebook marketing strategies. There's no reason for you to hop from one process to another. Pick one and decide to make that the process that will work for you. You're the common denominator and you need to get your mind right, because your thoughts are what create your results ultimately. Number 3, when not to invest, is when you think that the person or the team or the coach or the service that you're investing in is going to be responsible for creating the results that you want. This is not how investments work. Yes, I, for example, just hired an amazing podcast team. And secretly, when I'm hiring them, my brain is going like, great. Now I can just pass off all my stuff to them and I don't have to do anything and it's going to be so great. And what happens the very first week? They're like, okay, perfect. We're going to batch record 4 episodes. I'm like, what? No. What do you mean? I thought I was going to have more time and now it's going to be less, right? But the truth is that I decided that I'm responsible for my results. So like whatever the process is, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. When I make an investment, I show up and I'm not going to like be like, oh, okay, like it's your job to make this work for me. When I pay someone, I think of it as a partnership always. I'm never abdicating responsibility for any of my results in my business. So I want to make sure that if you're thinking about making a serious investment in your business, you're here for the work. You're here for the results because ultimately you're the one that's responsible for them. Doesn't matter how much you've paid someone. You're the one that has to create the results with your brain. Doesn't mean that you pay someone and then like you have an agreement. And if they don't do what they said that they were going to do, that you don't either fire them or ask for a refund or anything like that. Like, of course, but understand, right? Like that you're still the one that's creating the results. And how are you taking responsibility for that? Or how are you trying to like use the process or something that you didn't expect to as an excuse to not show up and get the results anyway? Okay. I want you guys to think about those things. If you are deciding about a big investment in your business, ask yourself those questions. And if you're in those categories where you were triggered by one of the things that you shouldn't invest if you're experiencing, there's nothing wrong with you. That's not who you are as a person. It just means you have to do some work on these things. You need to make sure that you're shifting your mindset into deciding you're going to be this person. You need to show up for yourself. So you have to start applying and building that trust with yourself by applying the things that you've already invested in. Okay. And then once you've done all of those things and you've decided that you're going to come and get what you came for, come knock on my door. Have a beautiful weekend.